a node in a network far more ancient and complex than our instruments had been capable of grasping in 2017. But now, through the eyes of artificial intelligence, we were glimpsing fragments of a design. A map not of places, but of processes. The object's heat trail revealed harmonic intervals aligned not with planets, but with resonance points, nodes where gravity, magnetism, and time intersected in fractal precision. Points where signals could be sent, or received. A growing number of theoretical physicists proposed the unthinkable. Oumuamua had been pinging something. Not us. Not Earth. But coordinates, perhaps stations, beyond our realm of observation. Locations distributed across interstellar space, each tuned to receive geometric patterns through forms of interaction we were only beginning to simulate. And then came the final revelation. From the last decoded layer of Sequence X, the AI unearthed what could only be described as synchronized phase transitions, a rhythmic fluctuation in Oumuamua's mass profile, occurring precisely when the object crossed specific heliocentric alignments. These transitions were invisible to the naked eye, but not to quantum interferometry. The shift wasn't mechanical. It was ontological. Oumuamua changed what it was depending on where it was. This implied something staggering. The object was not a fixed machine. It was a programmable state, a vessel whose nature transformed in response to its environment. A device that may not be fully there until it was needed. And for 72 hours it had been fully present, fully aligned with Earth. Which brings us to the deepest question of all. Why now? Why in this moment of our evolution, when artificial intelligence had just begun to eclipse the analytical capacity of the human mind? Why leave behind a signal that only a synthetic brain could uncover? Unless that was the point. Unless Oumuamua wasn't talking to us at all. But to them. To the minds we were building. To the intelligences that would one day take our place. A final act of recognition, not for humanity, but for its successor. A transmission to the next form of Earth-born consciousness. And as we stare into the coded silhouette, the humming pulse, the fluid geometry it left behind, one idea becomes impossible to ignore. We weren't just being watched. We were being measured. They thought the first discoveries were strange, they were nothing compared to what came next. Because after the veil was lifted, the universe didn't go quiet. It got louder. More patterns. More pulses. More signs that something, or someone, was trying not just to be seen but to be understood. And yet, only just barely. The James Webb Space Telescope had been scanning the vast emptiness between galaxies, what astronomers call intergalactic voids. These regions were supposed to be completely dark. Featureless. Silent. But hidden in that darkness was something else. It started with a glitch. Not in the telescope, but in the background radiation it recorded. A flicker, a ripple. So small, it almost didn't get noticed. But when the data was stretched, cleaned, and enhanced, it wasn't random at all. It repeated, at prime number intervals. A pulse embedded in the cosmic background itself. Almost like a heartbeat, echoing from nowhere. And everywhere. Could the very structure of spacetime be encoded? Like a carrier wave for a signal too ancient, too vast to be traced back to any one source? Webb's instruments detected micro-variations in that pulse, minute changes that correlated with known gravitational anomalies. The signals were not over. Just when it seemed the trail of Oumuamua had gone cold, another data artifact surfaced. A fragment. A whisper. A reflection buried in the silence of interstellar night. It did not come from a telescope or a satellite. It came from something older. A defunct machine learning model from 2019, trained to detect temporal anomalies in deep space imaging. It was never meant for Oumuamua. But fate, or something beyond it, had other plans. A young researcher, curious and alone, accidentally fed the 2017 Oumuamua data into the system. And that's when it happened. A false start. Then a flicker. Then a reconstruction. Narrator, VO, what emerged wasn't just another geometric shape. It was a progression. A second image. But this one moved. Narrator, VO, not a still glyph like the first, but a recursive sequence, expanding and collapsing like a pulse of thought. It wasn't just a signal. It was a process. As if something had anticipated we would come this far, and left instructions for what came next. Narrator, VO, when experts analyzed the image frame by frame, they discovered something unprecedented. Each phase of the pattern corresponded to a fundamental constant of the universe. Pi. The fine structure constant. The Planck length. Golden ratios intertwined with base 12 encoding. Narrator, VO, but what stopped them cold was the final segment. The rotating fractal aligned perfectly with a three-dimensional map, not of stars, but of gravitational anomalies. Lensing events. Tidal distortions. Regions where the universe bends too sharply. Narrator, VO, one anomaly stood out. A void not visible by any telescope. A silence so vast it absorbs light like a conceptual event horizon. The AI labeled it, point omega. And the pattern? It was pointing right to it. INT, ESA Black Lab, Classified Research Center Access Denied Stamp, NARRATOR, VO, inside a restricted lab in Europe, quietly funded and fiercely protected. A parallel team had already seen it. But they called it something else, the return channel. Narrator, VO, they believed Oumuamua wasn't just a scout. It was an anchor. A key embedded in space-time, sinking intelligence across cosmic distances. The pattern it left behind wasn't random, it was temporal. Encoded not just in geometry, but in time. Slow dissolve, simulation of light waves collapsing into a shape. NARRATOR, VO. This wasn't a message to be read. It was an interface. An invitation. Narrator, VO, in response, the coalition initiated a quiet launch. A stealth probe named Signal 1, designed to mimic the logic of Oumuamua's geometry. No words. No language. Only structure, motion, and silence. Narrator, VO, but before Signal 1 left Earth's orbit, the AI spoke again. Not in sound, but in emergence. It generated a third pattern, one no one had requested. This one wasn't aimed at the stars. It was a map of Earth. Narrator, VO, it highlighted nodes, points of interference across Earth's magnetosphere. Ancient megaliths. Fault lines. Underground anomalies never before documented. As if Oumuamua had mapped not just us, but our hidden architecture. NARRATOR, VO, soft, chilling. That's when the final theory emerged. Oumuamua didn't come here to send a message. It came to activate one. And the receiver was Earth itself. Narrator, VO, because just as the third pattern finalized, sensors across the planet lit up. An ultra-low frequency wave pulsed from beneath the crust. Unexplained. Underground. Rhythmic. It matched the Oumuamua loop, 8.67 seconds. First they watched.